welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. My name is Mark Selzer, and today's guest is longtime Libertarian Party activist and candidate, someone that is one of the people that may hold the record for most runs for office of the Libertarian Party, Ted Brown.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark.
Thanks for coming out. Now, you started with the Libertarian Party when?
Oh, 1978, when I was 18. I remember my whole adult life here.
Has it been worth it?
Oh, I think so. I mean, it gets frustrating sometimes, but more and more, I think the public is coming to understand our positions. Back then, it was like way out there, like being from outer space. Now, now more people know what we stand for, and they just disagree.
Right.
Back then, they didn't even know what we stood for.
They didn't even know if they disagreed.
Right.
Now they know, they're sure they disagree now.
Unfortunately, too many of them, but we've got to convince them, and that's the reason to go out there and express our ideas to the public.
Right, a little bit glib, because these are mainstream American ideas that are contained in the Democratic and Republican Party. We're just the live and let live, unauthoritarian end of any political philosophy, be you a conservative or liberal or centrist, or just some people just refer to themselves as neither conservative or liberal, but libertarian. Right.
Well, it's hard to find live or let live in some of the other parties. I mean, like the Republicans rarely had anything like that. They've always been a party of big government from when they were founded. The Democrats are the ones that changed. They actually started out as being a party of limited government, and then as time went on, like especially during the last 75 years or so, there's really been no party of limited government until libertarians came along in 71, 72 there.
And now the Republicans for a longer time were billing themselves and still bill themselves as being slightly less for big government and big taxes like the Democrats. But now that's completely not true. It's been about even. Now the Republicans have surpassed the Democrats in government growth.
Oh, they haven't. It's so funny. People think that Bill Clinton was this big government liberal, and of course he was. But Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. have grown government more percentage-wise during their times in office. It's really amazing.
Even bigger government liberals. Yeah, it's weird. You know, sometimes you see the political spectrum as being the people who want more government on the left and the people who want less government on the right. But if you did that, you drew a line. George Bush, who's supposedly right-wing, would be to the left of Bill Clinton.
It would seem that way.
And it is the programs of the social programs traditionally thought of as by the Democrats, belonging to the Democrats, that George Bush is growing. It's not just military spending. In fact, the first year, according to the Reason Foundation, only about 12% was military spending. But the Republicans, I like to say, give us about 2.5 times the growth in social programs of the Democrats. Plus, we'll throw in a $200 billion war on top of that.
Exactly. We certainly can't afford any of that. I mean, I was waiting to hear whenever Bush proposed spending like $100 billion for a war, that he was going to cut $100 billion out of something else to keep things even. But nope, never happened. Never is going to happen there.
Right, and now we're going to, whether you're for or against the war, now we're going to be going into Iraq and putting everyone there on Social Security, on welfare, on Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah, hiring everybody there to work for the U.S. government.
Everyone there gets a cushy government welfare job. Where's my cushy government welfare job? I have a huge pothole in front of my apartment in Hollywood I have to drive around. It's been there for years. Now I see the Army Corps of Engineers is going over to Iraq to fix their roads. So they're getting their roads fixed before me.
Well, you see, if the U.S. military had blown up the street in front of your house, then it would have been fixed. But if it just wears out on its own, no hope there.
Yeah, so, you know, whether or not you're for or against the war, you know, this is about turning the Middle East into a giant Indian reservation, or Iraq into a giant Indian reservation in the middle of the Middle East, making it a satellite welfare state of the United States. It seems that the left that seems to oppose the war should like the aftermath of the war, because everyone there will be on welfare, on Medicare, Medicaid, have a government job, and be in a government school.
But there's a fear, though, that some American company might actually make a profit out of the rebuilding of Iraq. And of course, that is something to worry about, because they're getting these no-bid contracts. But that's why the left can't agree with any of it.
Right, corporate welfare, and that's one thing, a misunderstanding sometimes between libertarians and the left. The left says, well, I like where you stand on civil rights, but you like capitalism. But we're just using different terms. We don't think that what we have now is capitalism. It's corporate welfare. It's a government-controlled and regulated commerce.
Yeah.
And so it really, a lot of the people on the left would agree with us entirely on a lot of things.
Oh yeah, there's even like federal government grants to major companies for marketing their products, like marketing Big Macs in France or something. I don't know, but it's just amazing that these companies that are so rich can do it on their own easily.
And they're subsidized all the farm subsidies. The Bush gave us not only, I think it was a $200 billion education bill, but a $200 billion farm welfare bill.
And interestingly, when they poll the public and they list all the various government programs and say, do you want to cut this or not? The only one that consistently the public will cut are farm or crop price supports and everything.
Yeah, I mean, and this money is being used not to bring down the cost of the farm subsidies, is not being used to bring down the cost of food.
Oh no.
It's being used to raise the cost of food. Why you have to spend money to make food more expensive, who knows?
Right. Sugar is a good example. I mean, with the various government regulations and tariffs and growing regulations and all, it's more expensive here than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's just completely ridiculous. But for some reason, us libertarians are offended by these things and want to do something about it.
Yes.
Run for office, start a new political party, register to vote as libertarians, register other people to vote as libertarians, get elected and go in and cut some of these programs where we can.
Exactly.
Why are we so offended where everyone else, oh yeah, that's ridiculous, and then doesn't do anything about it? Why do you think that is?
Well, they're not what's going on. Libertarians are very concerned about American history, about our Constitution, about the structure that we had to start with, that this country was founded on limited government. We got away from a king that was violating our rights, both economic and civil liberties.
Yes.
And for like 100 years or more, we were living that dream. People, millions and millions of people were coming from all over the world. They wanted to get away from those awful European countries where every act that they performed was being regulated by the state, and come here and have freedom to live where they want and have a farm and just do their thing. And that's what's been changing. And it's unfortunately it started out. It's actually on both sides. When the Republicans are in, they make more controls over our personal freedoms. When the Democrats are in, they have more economic controls. And it seems like the Democrats have been in more often than the Republicans, so the economic controls are just phenomenal, starting with Roosevelt or even before that, but mainly with Roosevelt and after that. Just every aspect is being controlled more and more every year.
And it's blurred. Now there's no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. We have these, the Democrats are the ones that pass the worst drug laws, and the Republicans are growing government, which is a tax raise. And then George Bush calls this additional deficit spending that he wants to do a tax cut. He has a bunch of deficit spending, and then he has some more deficit spending that he calls a tax cut. A tax cut is where you reduce the size and cost of government and then can charge less for it.
Well, the tax cut that he's proposing, I mean, it sounds good. He wants to cut $726 billion, I think, in federal taxes. And I'm not going to refuse a tax cut of that much, but that's like over a long time. That's like over a 10-year period. If that was every year, then we could really get behind that. But it's like so minuscule. And then Democrats and some Republicans are saying, oh, it's terrible. We can't cut that much. And it's hardly anything. It's like a $2.2 trillion a year budget.
But you see, it's not really a cut at all, because you're just going to have to collect that money somewhere else for the additional growth in government. He's got to pay for it.
Right, so you have to cut spending, and they never do that.
And they never do that, so you're just going to have to, they may have lowered taxes, but they're going to raise fees or create some other tax somewhere else down the road. How many times have you run for office?
I've run 12 times.
12 times for office, wow.
Yeah. I just can't give up.
We're never giving up. And we have here a clip of you in your last race.
Right, I ran for Congress in the Glendale, Pasadena area, and there was a candidates forum in Burbank.
Okay, let's go ahead and roll that in, and then we'll talk about where you were excluded during that same race from one of the forums.
The previous race.
The previous race, okay. So if you can, go ahead and roll that in.
Mr. Opening statement, please.
Yes, thank you. I am Ted Brown, the Libertarian.